Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score, your post UMass game edition. It is 45-3. 4-5-2-3. The Tigers are triumphant. Nathan Hurst, how are you feeling?
Feeling good. Mizzou came. Mizzou saw, believes. They conquered the Minutemen. We got it done. It's over. We don't have to whine about it anymore. It is in the books.
No, you're done with that one.
They can get on the airplane. They can come home, and we don't have to go back to the Northeast maybe ever again. So at least in my lifetime. Well, probably not.
That would be nice. Yeah. So, obviously the preview show for this game was sparse just because there wasn't a whole lot to break down. UMass was so bad that, as I said, if Missouri gave their effort that they gave against Texas A&M and replicated that against UMass, they would probably still win by 10. And once you know it, they gave, I don't know, B plus effort, maybe just not their best, but pretty good. And it was enough to bury them within the first, 16, 17 minutes, something like that. And really it wasn't ever close. There's no threat here. Even at the end of the first half when UMass was driving, even if they turned at 21-10, this was not going to be much of a game. And of course that did not happen. So big takeaway is what you're looking at is you want to win the game. You want to make sure no one gets injured. And of course, even before the game started, we had some injury news. We heard that Joe Moore was going to be held out, the same as Tristan Newsom. We have not heard what is ailing them. And of course, because this was not an SEC game, Missouri was not mandated to release a injury report before the game. So those two were kind of a bit of a surprise. Nate Noel dressed out, went through warmups, and then was held out of the game for back tightness. And then, of course, Luther Burden took a scary-looking hit, which was no bueno there. But at this point, it seems like everybody is fine. We'll find out next week. But, other than just mission accomplished, was there anything that you felt good about from this game?
So one other injury that you left out, Khalil Jacobs left early with the right shoulder as well. Don't really know much about that yet either. Hopefully that was just a precautionary thing as well. But we talked about this on in the middle of the week. There was not a lot, no matter what the outcome was, as long as Mizzou won, there's not a whole lot that we could really legitimately take out of this, even if it was 80-0, just because of the moribund program that they were playing. So there were no big red flags where that popped out that said, this is a problem. This is going to get this team killed down the road. But also the things that went well, there were a lot of things that went well, but it's also impossible to know if those things are going to be able to translate over next week. Running game looked a lot better this week than it did last week. Now UMass's defensive line is not Texas A&M's defensive line, and they're not Auburn's defensive line. So we really don't know what that means. But they did average over 6 yards a carry, actually almost 7 yards a carry on the ground, which is great. You love to see it. Marcus Carroll filled in for Nate Noel really well, 91 yards on 15 carries and 3 touchdowns, which you love to see. What I also love to see was everyone else getting carries. DeVoris Jones had 6 carries. Kawan Lacey had 7 carries. Jamal Roberts had 3 carries. Brady Cook, the design quarterback run game, worked twice in the first couple drives of the game.
Incredible.
Once again, we're talking about UMass here. I hope that doesn't give them any false confidence moving forward. But he did have a nice 15-yard draw play, another nice run-up, designed run as well that got another first down. So it seemed like everything was cooking. But it should have been. Yeah. So it was good. The defense, there's some things you could have asked to do a little bit better, but they were perfectly fine. They only gave up 3 points. Could have been closer, but they came up with a big turnover when it counted. That's really all you can ask for.
Yeah. So let's dive down into it. We mentioned Brady Cook. The running game was working because, of course, it was going to. It was an SEC offensive line going up against an independent defensive line. Even if you did transfer in a bunch of 3- and 4-star guys, they were not that. So it worked. I still don't think Brady has his top end speed. I still don't think he is reading the field very well, but he had a gaping hole twice and he took it and he turned it into exactly what he needed to do. So that was good. Yes, multiple running backs getting the ball. This was a game that you absolutely wanted to see that. We saw that. That was excellent. You saw some deep passing. Okay, Brett Norfleet got in on the action. Theo Weiss got in on the action. Luther Burden got some yards both on the ground and through the air. But the deep passing game, it was there, both in yak and yards through the air. So that was pleasant. Brett Norfleet, welcome back. Finally saw him get targeted a couple of times, got the touchdown. That was nice. You did see a sack given up, especially towards the end of the first half when Missouri was benefiting from the interception. You did see a couple pressures here and there, but for the most part, I think offensively, I didn't see a unit that was really struggling, and I didn't anticipate that, but it was kind of exactly what you wanted to see. And you saw the backups. Shout out to Mitch Walters. How many positions did he play on the offensive line? 3?
2 today, but he's played 3 this season so far. Yeah. He played left guard for Caden Green, who I guess got benched for some reason or other. So he came in at left guard, and then he filled in for Armand Menbu at the right tackle spot. He played right guard earlier in the season, so we're up to 3. I'm curious to see if he's going to go for the cycle by the end of the season. I'm not sure. I hope he doesn't. No offense to Mitch, but that would probably mean that other guys are either injured or not playing well.
Yeah.
But it's cool that you have a guy like that can fill in at wherever he's needed.
Yeah. I know even the broadcast is like 6'8", 330. Like this guy can play almost everything. Saw some Drake Heismeyer, local kid. Love to see that. St. Charles represent. Yeah, really. I mean, you got your depth players in there. You got to see some guys who you usually don't see, and it really didn't drop off. And again, you're assuming that you're not going to do that. But it's really easy it is easier to compile a lot of talent on your first string. It's harder to have that same amount of talent on the second string. And so it's nice to see it, and it's nice to see it effectively move the ball, even when the starters are out, which is good. Defensively, I mean, they had the one drive towards the end of the first half that was, Corey Flagg said, no, I'm picking this off and returning it, which was fine. Toriano Pride did not start. Nick DeLoach did. I don't know if that means anything. That's mostly comes down to a snap decision, if you had to ask me. But there's enough young guys that I got rotated in. Nick Rodriguez was playing with the ones for a little bit. Williams Winery was getting in there, obviously, with Joe Moore being injured. That was another just depth thing. And I think we saw a lot of depth. I didn't get a final count on everybody, but was there anybody that you really wanted to see on defense that you didn't? Because it felt like everybody was out there.
Yeah, everyone was out there. Ja'Kai Lang had several nice plays early. Yeah. I mean, he was playing early on in the game. It was nice to see that. I think he had a couple pressures, another couple tackles as well. By the end, Marcus Clark got in there. Hadn't seen a whole lot of him lately, but he got in there. Yeah, a lot of folks got playing time on both sides of the ball. Josh Manning, we didn't really mention him talking about the.
That's right.
Offense.
Yeah.
Long 63-yard touchdown pass, which was awesome to see. As pretty much the drive right after Luther went out with his injury, first play of the drive or second play of the drive, hit him for 63 yards, and he showed a little bit of, run after the catch ability, which we knew was there. They've talked about it. We finally got to see that, which was really nice to see.
Yeah. If there's one thing that you want to pick at and stomp your feet and hold your breath, it's probably the fake punt, the most obvious fake punt that ever fake punted. Even sitting on my couch, like that looks like a suspicious setup. And it was just like a little misdirection handoff, and the Tari Powell, their safety, ran it 39 yards. And like, okay, well, that's annoying, but Luther Burden made a hell of a tackle, and it's okay. Hey, if you have to learn that lesson, learn it against UMass. And I'm not concerned about it. What were your thoughts on the fake punt?
Yeah, it was obvious. I mean, that part of the field, that time, that amount of time left in the half. I mean, if they weren't going to go for it, you would hope that they would be a little bit more ready for it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Props to Luther. He laid that guy out. He ran for a long time, but Luther came up and just stuck him. So that was kind of fun to see. It's easy to laugh about now because they ended up getting the stop, and Flagg got the big play, which really at the game. I mean, the game was already, for all intents and purposes, over by that point, but that really put the nail in the coffin. The fact that they weren't able to score any points there, and I think they came out in the second half just defeated already at that point. So It was if I had to go give a single play of the game, it would be Corey Flagg's interception, no doubt. Yeah. And that really just said, nope, we're not doing this. We're not doing this today, and it was over. Kind of thinking about the defense. The first half was a little frustrating in terms of the pass coverage. I thought they came back out with that really soft zone again that they showed quite a bit against Texas A&M, and it didn't work at all against Texas A&M. And didn't work very well for a couple drives there, at least against UMass. I wasn't paying close enough attention in the second half as to what their coverage scheme was at that point. But at one point, I think Fomachan was like, his completion percentage was higher than you would hope it would be. There were several throws in a row, were kind of uncontested throws in the second half, which led to that first drive where they got the field goal, and then another drive, the first drive they moved the ball pretty well, and then we got a sack and pushed them back out. And then the second drive where they got the field goal, they were moving the ball well. But the second half, they came out, they changed something, and it was, very unsuccessful there. He finished 12 for 22, which you're very happy with that.
Yeah.
12 for 22, 132 yards. That's not anything to be upset about. It just felt like they could have, especially against this opponent, if you're going to play tight man-to-man defense against anybody, it's going to be this team, and they didn't. And so that was a little concerning, because what happens when they play Ryan Williams in a couple weeks? Because that guy's going to find any hole that he wants in that zone, and he's going to be running for a long time. So they're going to need to figure out what. And even Auburn's got athletes, a tight end. We had a lot of trouble today. I say a lot, some trouble today in the flats to tight ends. Auburn has a stud of a tight end, Armando Fairweather, and if we give that up to him, he's going to take those 8-yard gains and he's going to turn them into 30-yard gains really easily. So they're going to have to figure out what's going on there and tighten that up quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, UMass entered this game with a team completion percentage of 59%. And, Tyson Fumachan finished with 54%, 54.5%. So you even took 5% off of that. Yeah, you like to see better defense against passes to the flat. You'd like to see after a week after you gave up a ton of stuff underneath to running backs and slots and tight ends and stuff like that, you would have liked to have seen an ability to stop that against an overmatched foe. But at the same time, the one way we talked about it in the previous show, the one way UMass was going to keep this close was hitting deep shots to that Jacoby Keely James guy. Was an Eastern Washington transfer. Eastern Washington makes nothing but short, fast receivers. That's like their thing. And he got, he got targeted a lot and he got some yards. That's 6 for 80, 6 receptions, 80 yards. So like Kenny James is fast, he's shifty, and he's annoying to cover. And I think they're just like, we're not even going to give you a prayer of hitting big, right? Like we're going to make you work for it because we think you suck. And they were right for the most part. Now the downside of that is you give stuff up underneath. And sometimes if you make break it here or there, it goes for extra yards. But yeah, I was a little annoyed, but I'm not super concerned yet. We'll see what happens when they go up against a real team. But also it might just have been Corey Batoon saying, I'm not giving you anything. We'll show you the cool stuff next week.
It worked. I mean, when all is said and done, they gave up 3 points, 142 yards in the air, and 95? Less than 100 yards, less than 100 yards on the ground, and 39 of those was the fake punt. So we're going to kind of throw that one out anyway. So they did stout up against the run, that's for sure. Once again, UMass, but other than the 139-yard run, every other person who carried the ball averaged no better than 3.7 yards per carry. I think they were at 3.1 total on the game, and that's with the 39-yard run. So you take that out, and you're well below 3 yards per carry. So happy about that. Other than Khalil Jacobs, it looks like they got out of there relatively injury-free as well. Williams Nwaneri got a sack, got hopefully his first of many Mizzou sacks came today. So that was nice to see as well.
Yeah. We talk about the mentality of a college team, whether football, basketball, soccer, swimming, whatever. Like when you are younger than 25, there's a lot of mental stuff that goes along with it. Some of the best coaches are just the ones that can keep them focused, keep them motivated. And you can learn that just by listening to locker room speeches. There's no secret here. They're not doing scheming up X's and O's. They're just like, stay focused, stay 5-second warrior, one play at a time. Like, oh my God, anybody can do that. Okay, great. So I say that because this was potential for a letdown. You just got spanked the week before in a big SEC stadium. You are embarrassed. You dropped out of the top 10. You're barely clinging on to top 25 life. You get off the bus on a dirt road and you walk into what looks like a middle school gymnasium to put on your pads and play a game in front of 10,000 people. Like there's a lot of things there, the extra time zone, the extra travel. There's a lot of things that go into that. Like this could very easily be a team that's distracted, frustrated, and disinterested in showing everything that they have to beat an inferior opponent. And for I think the 5th time ever, Kirby Moore had a touchdown on his opening scripted drive. They really put them away within the first quarter. No real danger. Yes, you could argue at the end of the second or the first half that if they score a touchdown and get the ball back, maybe it's 17. Like, yes, you could probably argue that, but really, no. This was never a game. It didn't end up being a game. There's no real major threat, and when it was taken away. This was, I said that there's nothing good about this, and I stand by that, but they emphatically avoided the bad. And so I will give them credit for that because there's a lot of reasons why they shouldn't show up, and they did, and they rolled. So I was very proud of them.
Absolutely. I noted, I wrote the 5 takeaways on Rock M Nation immediately following the game. And one of my first points was, it was really nice to have a fast start. This was the first fast start that the team has had since week 1, where the offense comes out, scores a touchdown, not only on their first drive, but their first 3 drives, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. The defense comes out, gets I don't think it was a 3 and out on the first drive, but it was 2 series and out and a punt. And then they come out, get another stop on the second drive, punt. And that allows you to build a 21-0 lead. And at that point, it was, you're just kind of coasting there. So much different than how, especially last week, but even Buffalo, it took into the second quarter to get a touchdown on the board. Boston College, we were down 14-3 at one point. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to hit the ground running, put this game away early, and don't make anybody sweat, and move on about your day. So I appreciated that for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned other opponents that Missouri has played. Buffalo just beat the hell out of Toledo, which was the heavy favorites to win the MAC. It might still do it, but Buffalo has been playing very well, kind of out of nowhere. Obviously, Boston College has had some key wins. I know they lost last week, but they are certainly right there in the middle of it for the ACC. Vanderbilt beat Alabama last week. I don't know what they're going to do to Kentucky this week. Probably lose, but we'll see. We talked about Missouri's struggles, slow starts like you mentioned, and games that we thought might have been closer, or like, wow, you'd think that a team like Mizzou could put a team like Boston College away or a team like Vanderbilt away. And I continue to ask, what if our opponents are good? Heading into the season, we didn't think the first 4 stanzas were going to be anything, and maybe they are something. Obviously, Texas A&M is in sole possession of first place, right? If you go back and you look at your favorite trivia, who was the first team to hold first place in the expanded SEC? It's Texas A&M, and not by a fluke. They're like 3-0 in the SEC. So, Missouri is good, and, they can win and lose games, but also their opponents are pretty good too. And I do wonder, at the end of the year, when I do my tallies of how Missouri fared against teams with winning records, teams with higher SP+, I do wonder how that first trimester actually looks up when everything is said and done, because it seems like Missouri's first 4 opponents just keep winning games.
Definitely. And if you look at it from a defensive standpoint, we've now closed out the non-conference portion of the schedule against 4 teams. And I would argue 2 of the 4 were better than we thought they were going to be. Sure. In Buffalo and Boston College. Boston College, a competitive Power 4 team. Buffalo looks like they might compete in the MAC, and we didn't think that going into the year at all. And I mean, they just finished beating the same UMass team by 31 points themselves. The defense gave up 24 points in those 4 games total. So that averages out to 6 points a game. Doing the quick math in my head, the math wizard that I am. 6 points per game in non-conference games. That's good. That's good. Even if you're playing the softest of soft schedules, giving up 6 points a game is good. And the fact that we shut out a Buffalo team that looks actually pretty competent at this point, beat Boston College, maybe not by as much as we had hoped, but got the win. So thinking about the non-conference portion of the schedule, I feel better about it now than I did to start the season, just because it's a stronger, I think it's overall a stronger schedule than we thought it would. Now, is it great? No, still not great, but it's better than we thought it would be. Vanderbilt, that might look like a nice win by the end of the year. I mean, it already looks pretty good because they beat Alabama, but they could easily, now that they've had that win under their belt, they could easily make a bowl at this point. They play Kentucky today. Very curious to see how that one turns out.
Yeah.
But so that one could end up being a win over a bowl team. Boston College is going to make a bowl. It looks like Buffalo is probably going to make a bowl. That's three of your first five, and A&M is going to make a bowl. So 4 of your first 6 opponents are bowl teams. I would be pretty confident at this point in saying, and going 5-1 against 4 bowl teams. You know, there are times as a Mizzou fan where that would not have been the case. So, you know, were we hoping to be 6-0 at this point in the season? Yes. Should we be 6-0? I don't know. It really depends on how good A&M goes on to be. Yeah. That's still yet to be determined. But I think every Mizzou fan needs to kind of take a little step back and say, we're 5-1. We won the games we absolutely should have won. We won the games that we needed to win. Everything is still on the table. Now, is it going to take a lot to win out? Absolutely. But South Carolina just darn near beat Alabama. They were a 2-point conversion or a Hail Mary that got thrown into a touchdown or thrown into an interception away from possibly winning in Tuscaloosa. And I think this Mizzou team is just as good, if not better, than that South Carolina team. So it's all still on the table at this point.
Yeah. South Carolina is a much different type of team.
Very different. But I think when you stack them together, talent for talent, at worst they're comparable. Yeah. If not, I think Mizzou has an edge there.
Yeah. And you know, Brian Denny, the Fortress of Solitude, the place where dreams go to die, for 15 years. The natives are restless down there in Tuscaloosa. I know that they've only lost 1 game, but they're not used to being beatable. They're not used to being in close games. You know, they spent all week talking on Feinbaum about how Kalen DeBoer should put on a nicer shirt. Like, that's the levels of stress and freak out that they're in. I don't, it's I'm not saying Mizzou can just walk in there and win. But as the weeks go on, I figured Alabama would be good for like 2 years after Saban retired. I didn't realize they were going to be like beatable within 2 weeks of him leaving. And so I don't know what to think about that game. I'm still going to chalk it up to a loss, but like, yeah, it's not scary. It's not as scary as it used to be. That's for sure.
Crazier things have happened this season. Crazier things have happened to Alabama this season than Mizzou going in there and winning. They play at Tennessee this next week.
Oh boy.
And so that will be very interesting to see how that game turns out. Because if Alabama drops that one after losing to Vanderbilt and barely beating South Carolina, things are going to get real interesting in that locker room for Mizzou coming in. Now, if they show up to Knoxville and play well and win, then you're catching a different team riding high. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that game. That said, Mizzou's got their own hands full with Auburn. I was going to say we cannot look past them because you got to go. At this point, it's one step at a time. You're not getting anywhere unless you beat the game that is right in front of you.
Yep. And Auburn, gave Georgia a run for their money for about 8 minutes, I think. Really wasn't close after that, but they're going to be coming off of a bye for whatever that's worth. I know Sam Acho was on the broadcast talking about how he didn't like bye weeks I was like, okay, it's great for if you're injured, but like if you're in a groove or something, like that sucks.
He said a lot. There were a lot of words.
He talked too much.
There was a lot of words that he said. Those were some of the words that he said. There were also lots of other words that he said.
God, he's worse than my 6-year-old. There's just sometimes you say, stop talking. Not every thought is a shareable thought. We talk about that at the household all the time. The Edwards kids need to learn this. Sam Acho needs to learn this too. Good insight sometimes. Not every thought needs to be shared.
He's a rookie. He'll get it. He'll learn. He'll get into it. But it was I did turn the volume down a little bit towards the end of the third quarter once the game was a little more in hand.
Yeah. Well, coming up next is going to be Auburn. They're coming off the bye. Missouri is going to be coming back home. It'll be homecoming, early morning homecoming once again. Not your favorite, but I think you get an extra 45 minutes in there, which will be nice. So we'll see. I mean, this is going to be the first time that a home Columbia crowd sees Mizzou since the A&M beatdown. I know everything's been sold out at this point, right? Like the whole season has been sold out.
Arkansas is the one game left that is yet to be sold out.
Okay.
I'd imagine it will be by the time we get there, but that's sure. Everything else is sold out.
Sure. So here's a chance. Check them out. It's an SEC game again. You know what? Playing up a scrimmage against UMass that counts for the records is nice, but this week is going to be the game that's really going to tell you a lot about bounce back ability, about what's still on the table. At the end of my Beyond the Box score for Texas A&M, I just said, look, every goal is still on the table here. And you saw last week, the blood week, where everybody died. Like any team is beatable, so everything is still on the table. If you win out, you're in the playoff. 11-1 Missouri team, you're going to be in the playoff. That's how it's going to be. Lose another one, you're 10-2, and you're going to be sweating it. Okay, I mean, I can't read the minds of the playoff committee, but I feel pretty confident that a 2-loss Mizzou team with this schedule is going to be sweating it out. If you lose 2 more games, pack it in. We're not going to have any kind of playoff discussion here. So it is important to win this game and every game going forward. But at least you beat UMass, and there was not a national embarrassment that we had to deal with, which was nice. We'll talk about Auburn and everything going forward in our midweek show. Last thoughts, Hurst, before we get the heck out of here.
I'm just glad I don't have to complain about playing UMass anymore. It's over. It's done. Thanks for the lovely trip, Minutemen and lovely New Englanders. We'll see you again, never, and focus on games more regionally located, I think, moving forward.
Absolutely. And that's the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. Leave a comment or rate us. We love all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at A.G. Edwards. He's at Burst of Hurst. And of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, M-I-Z.
Z-O-U.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.